Candyman, 1992. Bonus review for the month. Directed by Bernard Rose, who I found out did one of my favorite movies, Paper House. Has anybody seen that? It's an old.
No, I remember you asking about it a while ago.
Yeah.
I looked at, I was, because I'm not sure if it was released in the U.S. But I know the UK has it on DVD for pretty cheap.
It's one of those movies that I don't know how I saw it. It might have been on IFC back in like the 90s or something like that, but I don't know. It was always one that creeped me out when I was a kid. But this is written by Bernard Rose, based on the Clive Barker story, The Forbidden. And I'm going to say I give a lot of credit to how this turned out to Bernard Rose, because from what I gleaned, I don't think I've read that story, but the Clive Barker version seemed completely different. It's
pretty different.
It was like a white guy that had like yellowish skin, red hair.
Well, that's horrible.
Different. Yeah.
God, he sucks.
He was like supposedly, what did it say, jaundiced, and then he had like pale skin, and his lips were like almost blue.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
Do you have any information on the release, Jason?
Well, I do. I had tagline: "We dare you to say his name 5 times." Distributed by TriStar Pictures, and a few different Blu-ray releases. But I'm guessing you stick with Arrow or Scream Factory, you're going to be good to go. I got the Scream Factory. Amazon had it for like $8 a couple of months ago. I picked it up.
Oh wow, nice.
Yeah. Little trivia for this film: Tony Todd negotiated a bonus $1,000 for every bee sting that he received, and he was stung 23 times, or at least he said he was stung 23 times.
Right.
Virginia Madsen was evidently hypnotized whenever she was in scenes with.
Let me just say, wow, about her.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
Like, number
awesome.
one, a great performance. Like,
right.
And she's like, the whole time I'm watching, I'm thinking like, she's just beautiful. Like, it felt like I was watching like a throwback actress. So, you know how they were like back in the day?
That short curly hair,
glammed up. Like, she was just like, she was almost mesmerizing. Just looking the way they have her eyes lit up, and like,
she was mesmerized in those scenes.
Now, and that's a cool. I've never heard of any director doing that before, but he evidently had her hypnotized, and there was a trigger word whenever she was in scenes with Tony Todd that would just make her go into a trance, kind of. Evidently, I don't know the magic of hypnotism, but he also made them Tony Todd take ballroom dancing lessons with her so that they could have like a romantic kind of relationship, because I think that's a big part of that. Like, they always
intimacy.
And thank God Virginia.
Something Ray McGuff would know nothing about.
Oh God, what's the attack?
Nothing at all.
What's the attack?
You got to pay extra, Jay. You got to pay extra for hookers to hug you when it's all over.
Forget that. Yeah,
I mean, it's COVID. It's COVID times, so you know that shit's even more expensive.
Hookers.
Don't get me started on what it costs to have them spit in your mouth.
Oh God! Oh man! But thank God that Virginia Madsen got this role, because did anybody read who was going to get the role if she wasn't available?
No.
Fucking Sandra Bullock, the most underwhelming. I hate when she shows up and stuff. I'm not a fan.
I'm not a fan of her either.
Yeah, and
I like her, but she would have.
Yeah, nothing against her, really. But
nothing
Virginia,
against her at all.
Yeah. And evidently they were looking at Eddie Murphy as Candyman, but he was too short.
God.
He was too short. I can't imagine what that movie would have been like.
Thank God.
You know, he wouldn't just play one character either. He'd be like all.
He'd be all the bees.
Fat suit Candyman.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He would have been every one of those people in the courtyard at the end.
Yeah.
It was so weird.
Even the baby.
That complex, Cabrini Green, the filmmakers had to like make a deal with local gangs and put them in the film as extras, so they were allowed to like use that property, because it was really a sketchy area. there's so much awesome stuff about this movie. Ted Raimi shows up at one point. I didn't.
Anytime a Raimi's in a movie, it's just it's going to be something.
He's in everything, isn't he?
He's just like a comfort food. Just
pops
throw
up.
him in there.
As much as as much as I love this movie, like there's so many. I have a lot of questions about it. Like, what class does Virginia Madsen's husband teach? Because she's writing a thesis on urban legends. That's like the most.
Also, what is she studying too?
She's studying urban legends.
I think it said like symbiotics or something. Yeah. Like I was just like, that's what? No.
It's the most rich white woman thing you could do is be 30, not have a job, and like be writing a thesis on ghost stories. I like I said, I think that Clive Barker's name is on this, but it's so different from the original story that I don't think you can give him. I think they used it as a selling point because, honestly, aside from the weird romantic twist they have on this, I don't see anything Barker really at all.
From the twisted mind of Clive Barker.
He was executive producer.
Yeah,
and I watched I only have the DVD version, and it had a special feature. I can't remember. It was like an interview with everyone, and then he was talking about how, he had input on it and things like that. So he's not just on there; he did stuff.
I just think that the contrast between his version and this version was so great that Philip Glass felt like he was swindled into doing this soundtrack. He thought it would be an artistic version of Clive Barker's work, and he thought it was just a straight up slasher. Like,
they're doing a fantastic job too. Though.
Yeah, the
music's a great part of this movie. Score.
And I think it works great with the movie. I don't think the movie would be anything to be ashamed of if you scored it, because there's a lot of poignant things in it. Even though there is a dude slashing people up, I think that whole Cabrini Green area is like they always say that some like a town or a city is a character in a movie. That area is like big a character, and it's a big part of why this movie works. It's like terrifying, stark setting. It's a shame that
it's dirty.
Yeah.
It's so dirty and grimy, and even the bonfire scene too. It almost reminded me of like Escape from New York, or like even Charles Bronson's Death Wish a little bit, like having that gritty like gang like infestation sort of, in contrast to like what Madsen was doing.
It's a real shame they demolished that whole building, because that would be like a horror haven to go there and just visit that, because it's a terrifying building. It's like an obelisk, it's in the middle of nowhere. It's just crazy. The whole bathroom mirror thing that they pull the mirrors off the walls and stuff. Evidently, that was pulled from an actual killer that was killing people in an apartment building like that.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my.
And I think that was one of the things that affected me a lot when I was a kid, because this shit terrified me when I first saw it. I don't know about you fellas, but when I was in 1992 or 3, I was probably 10 or 11. I saw this, and this thing stuck with me, and everything just works. I love it when she finds the candy with the razor blades in it. The way they build this world around this true sense of fear that people have for this character. From the there's everything. There's graffiti that says shit. Like sweets for the sweet or whatever. All this stuff works together to make it a disturbing vision all together.
I agree.
But I think the scene that fucked me up the most in this movie was the one with the boy in the bathroom that has his genitals mutilated.
Oh yeah,
that fucked me up as a kid. I saw that at 10. I mean, that's crazy. But that does lead you right into my favorite moment in the movie, where the fake Candyman comes in, and he says, "I hear you looking for Candyman, bitch," and then he beats her, unfortunately, but then you get another great scene where they're lined up all saying that line. And this dude that was the fake Candyman, you wouldn't need a lineup to pin him out, because he's like a model. He's like a gorgeous, handsome dude.
Now, calm down, Frank.
No, I'm getting a little worked up here.
Keep your pants on.
But I literally just watched this. I watched this right before we started. Like, I finished
a children's show we're trying to run here.
Yeah. But The funniest thing is that actor, if you look him up, his name's Terrence Riggins. He's like got a crazy theater background.
What's his address?
I think he Hollywood.
He lives at 123 Handsome Way.
What time does he get home from work? What time does he leave?
I don't know. He may be dead. I didn't go that far.
And he was a great juxtaposition from Tony Todd, because Tony Todd's a weird looking guy. You know what I mean? Like, that's, like just his physicality really hammered that home. You know, like the casting in this movie is like almost like lightning in a bottle. Like, I feel like if they would have given Sandra Bullock or Eddie Murphy, it would have been a completely different thing.
Yeah.
You know, I can't see that being convincing.
Yeah, that fake Candyman is kind of like the Great Value version of Tony Todd.
Yeah.
Can I say, when Tony Todd pops up and says Helen's name, it still gave me goosebumps the first time Helen.
He's got a voice, man.
Yeah.
He's
got a voice.
There's a lot of jump scares in this, and I think it's because they kind of keep you rattled through the whole thing. The most fucked up scene in it is when she wakes up and there's a dog's severed head, and she like evidently hacked it off with a hatchet. Is it a hatchet? No, it's not a hatchet. It's a cleaver.
Butcher.
Yeah. There's blood everywhere. Baby missing. Nuts. Another thing I didn't understand was why Candyman needs Virginia Madsen to like accept him to kill her, because he just fucking kills everybody left and right. But I guess it was to make to create the legend or whatever. I don't know. I think
it was because she denied his existence, because that's like almost his aura is what's conveyed. So he's making sure that he still stays present, even though.
Did she say his name 5 times? Like, in the mirror?
Yeah.
Okay, so why wasn't she dead like almost instantly, just like they showed beforehand with the boy or
the girl? Always you, Helen.
An urban legend at that point.
I think he also associated Helen with his former lover too.
Yeah,
right.
So he
was courting her.
Empathy.
He was courting her a little, you know.
Very romantic. He's
super hot.
Did anybody else laugh when he flew backwards through the window?
That looked awesome.
Like,
that was really great, but
I thought that looked super cool.
Yeah, it was good.
What's so funny is this movie came out in '92. But it looks like it came out in '82. Like, it looks so old. I don't know whether it's like whether they shot it on a different film, but like it seemed way late.
Not that old.
Oh no, I'm just saying like the movies that were coming out in '92 were 1 year away from like Jurassic Park. And this movie looks.
But this is a horror movie.
Yeah, I mean it was fairly budgeted though. It seemed like $9 million back then. That was a chunk of change.
It's true.
Yeah, this was. I remember this was a big release. Lots of trailers on TV for it and stuff. Many spots. Like this was a very heavily advertised movie.
The bee's knees.
Oh no.
I dug that old TriStar logo too.
I love that. Was one of my favorite ones. It was one of my favorite intros.
Another question I had was, why doesn't anybody in this angry mob who's just decided to set a fire based solely on a little boy telling them they saw the Candyman going into this thing, why didn't anybody hear this baby? It didn't make sense. He heard the baby. The little boy heard the baby.
Crazy Helen heard it.
But regardless, this is one of the first movies that I remember really fucking with me as a kid. It was like this and Poltergeist. It's a combination of excellent locations, the great cinematography. The dude who did it, Anthony B. Richmond, he's responsible for Don't Look Now, The Sandlot, Tales from the Hood, Cherry Falls, John Tucker Must Die. It's got fantastic acting, I think. I think that Virginia Madsen should have won an award for this, even though it's Candyman. Wonderful effects, except for the bees sometimes. They did some weird stuff with bees that I didn't like. I don't know. Did it seem like there were CGI bees at some point? I don't know.
There was.
Were there really?
Yeah,
and they would do just like this.
They like composite
close-ups on the piles of bees when Tony Todd would talk. Sometimes it looked really fucked up there.
No, I'm talking about like the wider visuals.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
no, those are all
Like
those are
the
all
chest
real
cavity
bees.
part?
No,
No, those
not
were all
part.
real bees.
I don't know. So there was just
They
some
were all
weird
real.
shit. I don't know. I gave this a 10 out of 10 though because I like it. It's always been one that I held close. Who's next?
I'll go. My biggest problem with this movie is my own fault, I guess. Because I hear people say you threw out the word earlier too, slasher. This movie is, I get there's some slashings in it. He slices some people up. This movie has such a I don't even know how to. I want to say it's like it's emotional, it's supernatural. Like there's such another feeling to this movie other than slasher. And people when they classify it as slasher, they talk about how it doesn't kind of live up to what they want in a slasher. There's not all the campy stuff, all the tropes. Well, you can call it a slasher, but I don't. It's just a supernatural horror movie to me. Not every movie that is someone getting hacked up is necessarily a slasher. But that's out of the way. Regardless of what you want to call it, this is one of the best movies of the 90s, in my opinion. I like tales. I like urban stories, campfire stories. This is a good one. Horror icon, an iconic weapon. But yet, this still don't it still seem like it is kind of like under the radar?
Yeah,
It feels like
Maybe with the newer generation.
It always. I mean, even I don't know.
This was the first time I've seen this movie.
Oh,
So there you go.
okay.
There you go.
Yeah. So
it just seems like
it definitely wasn't. It wasn't as prominent, I don't think. But I definitely like. Hey, you should, like. I've definitely gotten the. Hey, you should go see. You should see Candyman. Like, it's always been in part of the rotation. For sure.
It crazy how iconic the character, the weapon, and the performances. And yet, this still isn't as popular as I guess the bigger franchises. But acting is great. I like all the characters. One of the best lines in any movie comes from a kid. Can't fix that. Better off dead. The kid losing his wiener. That's one of the best lines ever. This is another movie that I like it better every time I see it. It's a 10.
There we go.
Yeah, I'll go next. So this was 1992. We had Jason, Freddy, Michael, Chucky, some sequels. Candyman was the new icon, and that was awesome. He was definitely different from all of them. He was like a well-traveled aristocrat that will, hook you up.
Which was really a kind of a different, for being a black character. Normally they would just make that guy a slave. Like they would in past movies. So this is like a big step up. And there was a lot of...
he's just even a son of a slave.
Right.
Yeah, it was like after...
There was some, like he was like kind of an aristocrat, right? Like
he was a painter. Yeah.
Yeah, went to art school and was a
he was
high society guy. Yeah.
And there was a lot of evidently controversy between people. Some people saying, "Why is he a black guy?" and like he shouldn't be a black guy. That's making black guys look bad or whatever. And then there was the filmmakers were like, "No, why couldn't he be a black guy?" So it was like a big debate about this movie when it came out. Evidently, I had no idea, but yeah, a good place to come from for a horror icon, I guess. I don't know. Anyways, continue, John.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, we've touched on pretty much everything so far that I feel. Virginia Madsen, like this is the movie that solidified the crush.
It wasn't
Dune?
Dune?
Was her first. No, you know what? I ain't gonna lie. I haven't seen all of Dune. It never interested me.
It's so boring.
It's got some problems.
It's an amazing movie, but it's so boring.
So, but yeah, this was, she was great.
Ray doesn't like that.
She was amazing in it. The whole thing where I hadn't watched the supplements in a long time, but for her to actually be hypnotized during those scenes, she didn't blink. Her eyes went red.
So I didn't know that. I didn't.
Yeah,
I didn't go down the wormhole with this movie, but they shine. They had a light in her eyes, right? Like almost every scene, like her eyes are lit up. Or is that
kind of like they would light Morticia Adams, like just like right.
Yeah, like
yeah. They did it
light
for her
on the
too.
eye.
Yeah.
But she was just wonderful. Her intensity, her sweetness, she was great, and I really
her bathtub scene.
Yeah, right.
What else you got in there?
The scene when right after right there. Yeah, right when she gets put into prison. Yeah, there was that.
And
can you remove your brassiere, please?
that was the
big burly woman cop.
But she was in Jason Goes to Hell. She was the chick that did the restaurant lady.
Oh,
the boss.
Okay.
That was her. I've seen her in a few things. It's crazy. But anyways, back to Candyman again. A really super tragic story. I like how he exists. He called the people of Cabrini Green his congregation, and Virginia Madsen told the little boy that Candyman isn't real, so he paid her a visit. So she already invited him by. This was to Jason's question earlier, why she didn't die right away. When she said it, like in the story.
Right.
So she broke the chain of belief, and he decided to teach her a lesson, and then you saw his lair. She was on the wall, and so yeah, that whole dynamic between them, the love story was really, really cool. I almost wish it didn't have a sequel. It was or a sequel with her.
How many sequels are there?
Cool. Just 3. Oh. Just till part 3. Tony Todd, geez, man, he is the Candyman. No one else could have played this role. Eddie fucking Murphy, come on. He could be Dolomite, obviously, because that movie was awesome. He can be Dolomite, but he couldn't be Candyman. He ain't
especially around that era of Eddie Murphy too. That'd be just so off kilter, almost tone deaf to a certain extent.
No way. Like he was so broad and just looked really awesome. The bloody hook stump was great. The only question I have is why was he sleeping up in that attic? Was he like a physical being there? Because I felt he was really spectral.
Yeah, I mean, even at the end, whenever he dies or whatever.
Yeah, they show his body burn. It's he became physical, but then he's
the way I kind of thought, I could be wrong here, way off, but was that at that point he had built such a fever pitch, it had made him solidified, kind
of like Freddy Krueger does.
Yeah, exactly. But the way that he became a physical being because everybody was now terrified of him, at this point. That's the way I took it. I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
Or he just reveals himself to people as he pleases.
That could be too. Yeah.
See, that's how I was taking it. But she invited him. I'm treating this like Ouija board logic. She invited the demon, and, and now he's with her. This is a 10. This was an introduction of a new icon after so many have been repeated. You know what I'm saying? This was something new. Great special effects, great everything. The acting. This is, Jason, you're right. This isn't really a slasher. It's supernatural horror.
I mean, you can put it in there, but this has so much more than what a slasher normally does.
Right. This has way
So if you're looking for a
story.
slasher, if someone says, "Hey, I'm a fan of slashers," you say, "Yo," or I want to watch a a good 80s or 90s slasher and you say Candyman, they might not be expected what they're going to see.
Right. Yeah, they might be pissed.
Yeah,
they might be bored. They're expecting to watch Madman and they're getting King Lear.
Right. There's a difference there.
There's a big difference.
The character motivations are pretty like laid out too. Like it's not just like, okay, like if we're not necessarily there for Jason Voorhees' social motivations or whatever he may think.
Right.
This one actually brings that character to full depth, and yeah, I feel like it's just a little more creative than your typical slasher movie.
Yeah,
this is an evolved slasher. If you got to lump it in the slasher, this is like a slasher plus or an evolved slasher. But yeah, I give it a 10. It's a classic. It's a must-see.
Ray? What do you say, Ray?
Yeah, I'm with you guys 100%. I mean, I saw this when it came out when I was a kid, Blockbuster video rental. Scared the shit out of me.
Shout out.
Yeah.
We were there, Dave.
Yeah. I was walking up and down those aisles. Candyman? Where are you storing Candyman?
It's that poster, too.
Did anyone else take an inordinate amount of time to pick out a movie? Like, I
do now when I'm trying to figure out what to watch. I go and just stare at my shelves.
Just spend an hour walking around a store.
Yeah. My parents used to hate going with me. My dad would be like, "What are you looking at? Just come on, for Christ's sakes! We got the dinosaur movie. Let's get out of here."
This is my weekend. Stop it. Let me focus.
Right. But yeah, I love everything about this movie. I love the fact that I'm with John. It introduced a completely new mythology into a new character out of nowhere, and in the height of horrordom. You know, am I allowed to say that? Horrordom. The artwork, I don't know about you guys, but every time I watch this movie, I find myself looking at the art on the walls even more and more. It's so amazing. Like
those murals are pretty well done too.
Yeah, just really cool shit. Like I was like, I'd fucking buy a T-shirt tomorrow when she comes out of the hole, you know, looks at and he's like,
oh yeah,
you know. With that on it, I would totally buy a T-shirt.
I love that saint painting at the ending of her.
Yeah,
that was something
really awesome.
Fucking wear a T-shirt of that.
Always remember, never say Helen 5 times in a mirror.
Right? Yeah. But I absolutely love Virginia Madsen. You know, I like her brother's a great actor too, Michael.
Yep.
They just come from a really cool family, but she is, gosh. That bathtub scene still today, I'm like, well done. I like, yes.
What was that?
Lotion. Oh, lotion, yeah. Lotion. But I love everything about this movie. Tony Todd. Fantastic actor. I love the script. I'm glad that I never read the story, Frank. This is one of those Clive Barker stories I've never read. I never will.
Wasn't it in Books of Blood?
Yep.
So maybe they'll make a version of it for the TV series.
Hulu.
Yeah.
But I love this. I got to throw a shout out though to Helen's husband. If your wife goes crazy, definitely get a 20-year-old one right out of the gate.
When she comes in, when she breaks out of the hospital and comes there, and he just stares at her like a deer. Like
that chick's painting the room pink and turns around and it's like,
and then she's like, "Go ahead, call the hospital. Go ahead, call the hospital." If it was me, I'd be like, "Bitch, I don't know the hospital's number off the top of my head." It's nice.
I think we've all been in this situation where your wife breaks out of a mental institution and you're now with your new 20-year-old girlfriend.
Yeah, it's just
awkward.
Standard practice.
Yeah,
it's just another day.
But I think it's great that guy is pulling 20-year-old tail, hats off.
Oh, he's a professor.
Oh yeah.
I looked him up.
Yeah,
If you look him up, his last name is Culkin, and the only trivia that is in his bio is he's not related to Macaulay Culkin.
He was
Perfect.
He was the stepdad in Terminator 2.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Not my mom, Todd.
All right, Todd. I'll be back later, Todd. But yeah, I love this. The score, fantastic. Like you guys, the shots, the wide shots of the city with the bees. Walmsley, you're talking about, fucking crazy cool.
Very cool.
Just great. All around 10 for me. I love this movie. It will always be right up there with my favorite horror films. And I'm with you. I've always considered this more of like a poltergeist type movie than a slasher. So
a hardcore ghost movie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's it for me.
What's your score,
yeah,
Dave?
I mean, I agree with everyone else. I mean, this is what I really loved about this though is it takes a classic like campfire tale, like almost like Bloody Mary, and then really three-dimensionalizes all the characters. That's probably, I mean, that gives you the reason to be compelled by the people on screen, because like that's why it wouldn't be considered a slasher movie, because it's not it's the writing is just a little different, and the settings really everything just seemed dirty to me, and I really like that. And I like the contrast between it, and also a lot of the audio production on this was really good too. I mean, especially like Tony Todd's voice combined with Philip Glass, everything. It was, like I said earlier, lightning in a bottle. Like I feel like anyone else doing this film at that time,
I think
it wouldn't have worked.
I would listen to an album that was just Philip Glass with Tony Todd saying stuff over it. That for some reason it just works. Like he could say anything. He could read recipes. He could read the TV guide. It wouldn't matter.
Here's the next track.
Voice, that iconic voice.
It's just Helen for 5 minutes. Helen.
Don't say it 5 times, Randy. You're showing up here.
What I know about Philip Glass too. Philip Glass is a minimalist too, so he was very deliberate in what he was doing. I think that's what makes the movie great too, because there's nuance in a very traditional tale.
Yeah,
I agree.
I'm gonna give it. Just because I don't feel the same nostalgia, but it was good. 8.5, 8.5.
Oh, okay.
Man, it was almost a straight 10.
Almost a straight 10.
Yeah. No.
It's all right.
No making it rain 10.
We made it rain 10. So it's definitely recommended.
That's cool, especially being a first timer seeing it and stuff. I mean, that movie ain't new.
Was there anything about this?
Yeah.
Was there anything about this that people hated about the movie?
Nothing.
No.
I don't think so.
Not even a single character got on my nerves. Like
my only. I'm sorry.
Bernadette, I didn't like for some reason. I think it might have been the. I think it might have been her costume, like her hat. I think I just rubbed it around the way. I don't know, man. Something about
there was one thing that bothered me. There was one thing that bothered me after I read it on IMDb, and it was when they're in the university, there's a bell that rings, and they show lockers, and it's a university. That shit doesn't happen in college. You know, like, okay, well, I got to go study hall.
It's between class.
That is true.
The bell already rang.
But I was a little, my one thing that I this is multiple viewings, but I always don't understand, though, is where does Bernadette go halfway through the movie? It's like they're really working together on this hardcore, and then they go to the Greens, and then it's like Helen's just figuring shit out all by herself for a long period. And then Bernadette shows up at the end again. You know?
They probably have a bit of a rift after she wakes up with this headless dog and.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
that's true. But I mean, like, even before that, she goes back again by herself, and isn't really like taking any precautions or calling her afterwards and going, "Hey, you won't believe what I." They just kind of like leave her out and
she got what she deserved.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. She was almost just set up for a kill.
Yeah,
you know.
But other than that, everything else I loved. So.
All right.
I really
your
like
bitching, Ray.
I really like the performance of the baby's mom. Her name happens to be Vanessa Williams, but not that Vanessa Williams. Different Vanessa Williams. She was. I've seen her in other things like bit parts and stuff, but she really did good in this part. Like,
yeah,
especially
she's
her
very
freak out. Her
Yeah.
freak out was like that was real. I feel like she was in the zone for that. Like she nailed that part when she freaked out and went after him. And then that how she led the funeral procession.
Yeah.
The congregation was complete again, so they gave her Candyman's hook.
Yeah.
Great film. Let's move on. Sorry.
Yeah,